And just start?
Yeah, it's rolling right now.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Lejeune. I'm with Stantec Architecture here in Edmonton, and I'd like to welcome you here to this presentation of the highlights of the NAIT Centre for Applied Technologies. Throughout the course of this presentation, I will be sharing with you the purpose of the building, some of the background of how it was put together. I'll share highlights of the building, and at the end of the presentation, I'll drill in a little more in detail on the office areas for staff moving into the building. Following that, we'll wrap up with a question and answer period. Okay, so the purpose of the building. Back in 2008, NAIT had put together a business case that was positioned and put forth to the province of Alberta that was intended to deal with space pressures on the campus, and in particular, increased targeted enrollment of 1,700 additional students on the campus. Beyond the growth for students, there was also an ambition to improve the student experience on the campus in the construction of a new facility. And lastly, one of the key purposes of this new facility was to create a home for interdisciplinary use. And by that I mean a place where a number of programs could come together under one roof. And this was also a home for classrooms, labs, and offices, all in one location. So if we take a look at the history of the process of this project, and it's been a long one, it's been 6 years and counting. In 2008, that business case was put forth to government, pitching the need for additional students on the campus. That led to schematic design for the new facility starting in January 2009, and that wrapped up in May 2011 as a series of construction drawings or blueprints for a fully built building. Now, NAIT only had the funds to complete the drawings at that stage, and then NAIT had to wait for a period of time until construction funds came from the province. In that period of time, we call it putting the drawings in the drawer. From 2011 onward, there was a waiting period. At that time, there was also a change in NAIT's administration. Former President Sam Shaw moved on, and incoming President Dr. Glenn Feldham arrived. At exactly that same period of time, a new opportunity emerged for NAIT, and that was the release of the airport at the municipal airport lands and a master plan for the Blatchford site. This was a huge opportunity for NAIT to take a look at how it could grow and make use of those lands directly to the west of the existing campus. So a new master plan was built that would look at a 30-year planning horizon for NAIT. How would NAIT grow over the next 30 years, and how could it make use of that Blatchford lands? The ambition in that master planning exercise was that NAIT, over the course of time, would consolidate all of its campuses at this one location here on the main campus. So that was the context around 2011 and 2012. A business case was built, making the case to the province for bringing all those campuses together. At the same time, a set of architectural design guidelines were authored in 2012. What should all of those new facilities look like? And there was a lot of consultation within the campus community here at NAIT among staff and students. What should new buildings look like? Should they all be harmonious in their colors and materials, shape and form, or should it be eclectic like many campuses are? So there was a great debate, and that culminated in the completion of those architectural design guidelines. By the time 2013 rolled around, and to be specific, in March 2013, the province awarded the full construction funding for the CAT project, a $200 million ask to the province. When that occurred, it was a key point in the project's history when the NAIT administration tasked us to take a look at the CAT design and say, does it indeed meet the very architectural design guidelines we've just finished authoring for what new buildings on our campus should look like? That then led in 2013 right through to today to a modernized version of the building, which I'll share in a moment. So let's drill in and take a look at the location of the site. Shown here in yellow This is the footprint of the building as seen from above, sitting on the corner of 118th Avenue and 106th Street. It will be built with the connection of two pedways, one pedway to the south connecting it to the HP Centre on level 2, and another pedway to the east connecting it to the existing Parkade. In the fullness of time, there will be a third pedway that crosses 106th Street and connects the CAT building to the existing U building. In 2011, I mentioned the drawings that were completed and put in the drawer on hold, and this is what the building had looked like at that time. This was a traditional looking building, and this was the ambition of the former administration, that the building should look neo-Gothic or very traditional, as though it had been there for some time. This is another glimpse of that same building in 2011. You can see in the foreground the campus quad as the front lawn to the building, and a pedway across that quad over to the HP Centre. Again, with the architectural design guidelines and broad consultation far and wide within the NAIT campus community, through that exercise we heard loud and clear that buildings, future buildings on NAIT's campus should actually embrace what NAIT is, a polytechnic, and therefore the buildings should be forward-looking and express a modern aesthetic, not a traditional aesthetic. So as a result, in 2013 we began a refresh of the building's exterior look, and this is what the updated exterior of the building looks like today, and this is what's being constructed across the street as we speak. So you can see the massing has remained the same. We still have a 3-story volume to the west and a taller 5-story volume on the right, and that same pedway connecting it over to the HP. And the forecourt front lawn in front of it is the campus quad. Another glimpse of that same modernized exterior as seen from 118th Avenue. So you can see there are 5 stories of classroom and office space on the east, and that tall glass Main Street atrium, which I'll get into in a moment, that bisects the building from east to west. So I've identified the changes to the exterior look, but there were a handful of other changes that occurred in 2013 when the refresh of the project began. One of the key changes was the executive made the decision to not put the president's suite in the new facility and instead give that space over to more student gathering and student study space. I'll share the details of that in a moment on level 2. Additionally, there was a desire to increase the amount of food service space in the building. The previous 2011 design had only one small coffee shop, and the 2013 refresh of the building now has a full food court with 4 food service providers and 2 large food service providers elsewhere in the building for a total of 6. Another change that occurred in 2013 was just a slight modification to the split between 32 and 64-seat classrooms. No change to the total seat count, but instead just a change to the distribution of the classroom size. The 5th change that occurred that I'll highlight is that the 2011 version of the project had a wastewater treatment plant actually functioning to treat sewage in the basement of the building. Now, you may chuckle to know that that was going to occur, and indeed students were going to be using it as a living lab. But with the Blatchford opportunity as a larger initiative coming, it was felt that the wastewater treatment needs for NAIT's entire campus could be tied into the larger Blatchford initiative and therefore should be postponed at this time. And lastly, with the 2013 refresh, there was a desire to look a little deeper at how to make the office environment a richer experience for staff. So those are really the highlights, and I'll try to capture those through the slides as we go. Who's moving into the building? We have the 3 schools, the Shaw School of Business, the School of Health Sciences, and the School of Sustainable Building and Environmental Management. In addition to that, we have the Student Contact Center. This is a first stop experience for new students on the campus. And then again, throughout the building, we have a handful of student service spaces, food service spaces, and then the outdoor quad. Taking a look at where that outdoor quad sits as we look at the site plan, as seen from above, the white footprint shown here is the footprint of the CAT building. Surrounding it is a little bit of parking to the north along 118th Avenue. And directly to the south is a large lawn area. This was crucial to one of those original purposes for the building, to enrich the student experience. If you take a look at the existing campus right now, there aren't a lot of outdoor spaces that students can use. The goal here was to create an outdoor environment where students and staff can enjoy it summer and winter. They can throw a frisbee around, have a student barbecue, or just sit in the sun and study. So here's a glimpse of what that outdoor quad will look like on the south side of the building, in between it and the HP Centre. I'll now take you through the floor plans of the building, starting in the basement, and we'll work our way up. So here in the basement, on the north half of the building, we have, shown in blue, these are labs mostly affiliated with the School of SSBEM. On the south half of the building, shown in gray, this is an underground heated parkade, and the access to this is on the east side coming off of 103rd Street. One way in, one way out. As we move up to the ground floor, the main floor of the building, there are really 4 entrance points. 106th Street to the west has one major entrance into what is called Main Street. This Main Street is really the organizing element of the building. It splits the building in half and is a 5-story glass atrium spilling light all the way down into the 5 floors of the building. And it's meant to be a busy corridor of student and staff movement through the building. 2 other major entrances. We call this south entrance off the quad, we call this the front door of the campus. We have another entrance on the east into the main street, and then one more entrance on the north just off of the surface parking lot. On this floor, as shown in green, are the health science spaces in the building. A handful of them are labs, and right along 106th Street we have a state-of-the-art simulation lab. This is where students can work on mannequins and can have a completely immersive experience in a state-of-the-art black box studio, complete with the mask and the gloves. Shown here is in yellow is the student commons. This is a 3-story atrium environment. This is where informal and formal gatherings of students can take place. Directly adjacent to it in blue is the Student Contact Center. This will be the one-stop shopping for newcomers to the campus. They can come and meet face-to-face with a person at a reception desk, deal with questions about the campus, questions about their registration, pay for parking, meet with a student advisor, etc. Just behind it, shown in the purple, is our new food court. Again, it has 4 new kiosks and a variety of seating areas deliberately positioned here so that people can grab their lunch, walk through the doors, and spill out onto the outdoor landscaped quad. Moving up on the second floor, this floor is almost entirely dedicated to classrooms, and that is a deliberate move on the part of the design team, knowing that students will be flowing across the campus a lot via the pedways. It was important to keep most of the classrooms on the 1st and 2nd floors. In this case, we have a combination of the smaller 32-seat classrooms, as you can see here, and some of the larger 64-seat classrooms. You can see connections via pedways over to the HP Centre on the south, over to the Parkade on the east, and eventually across 106th Street to the U building. A few other features to note on this floor. This triangular area here, this is called the Project Center. This is a closed area meant to be quiet, heads down space for students to work at computers. Over here in purple, this is the student gathering or student study space. This is a new feature that I described as a change from the 2011 design. This had been the President's Executive Suite. Again, they felt that for this new facility, it was important to give that space instead back to the students. I'll highlight some of the images of that space in a moment. Then the yellow are all the hallways, and you can see down Main Street there are a series of openings that look down onto the Main Street below, and a series of staircases that connect all of the floors together with bridges that fly through the atrium. On the third floor, the north half of the building, shown here in orange, is for the office space affiliated with the Shaw School of Business. And on the south half of the building, shown in blue, these are studios mostly affiliated with the Architecture and Interior Design program. There are a handful of shared meeting rooms available to anyone in the building. These are identified in brown. And the ambition is that all staff in the building can book these centrally through their computers. Don't know how that's going to work yet, but certainly NAIT's working on it. And I'll just point out at the very center of the building, these 4 X's here indicate the elevators that connect all the floors with one another. The fourth floor, the north half of the building in orange, you see a handful of more 64-seat classrooms. And I will point out this space here in pink. This is a non-denominational prayer room. This was added in 2013 to respond to the diversity of the student population at NAIT. And we have 2 student lounges, one here and one here, shown also in the purple. And they deliberately are against the glass handrail of the atrium. The south half of the building, shown in pink, it's called swing space, but this is office area. And there's currently no dedicated user for this group, or for this spot. After the CAT building is built, there will be a series of vacancies created throughout the campus. Each of these vacant areas will then need renovations in turn. And while people are undergoing renovations across the campus, they will temporarily need a home where they can live, and that's what's intended to be here. The 5th floor is almost all office space. The north half of the building, shown here in green, is for the School of Health Sciences, and the south half of the building, shown in blue, is for the School of SSBEM. Again, Main Street with its bridges and staircases splitting the building in half. And you can see in brown the shared meeting rooms of various sizes that can be booked centrally for all patrons of the building. So let's take a look here at what that cross-section through that Main Street looks like. You can see the tall 5-story atrium bringing daylight all the way down into the main floor of the space. A series of cascading staircases that connect level 1 all the way up to level 5. And that is on purpose so that all of the staff and student population isn't entirely reliant on the elevators, that they can actually use these easy access stairs right in the center of the building. To the west, the building starts to step down to a 3-story volume over the student commons and a 2-story volume on the far west along 106th Street. This is a glimpse of what that interior Main Street environment will look like. Again, the staircases that connect up to a sets of bridges with glass guardrails, and 5 stories of glass on the far east end bringing daylight in down that street. I mentioned the Student Contact Center on level 1. This is directly inside the front doors of the building off the quad. So new students, and maybe with their parents, can come queue up here and meet with advisors, pay for their parking, deal with questions around registration, etc. Further down Main Street, the entrance to the food court or the food services area is rendered here, and you can catch a glimpse further in to the seating area in behind. This is what that seating area looks like from within. We are deliberately using neutral colors on the hard surfaces of the building and pops of bold and vivid color to really animate the space in key locations and really celebrate some fun. It's a student environment, so it shouldn't be altogether too serious. Here in the food services area, we do provide a variety of seating types, both counter height, more informal, and seated to sit and either study together or eat together, and some of the tables can be reconfigured by the students to do group work. Here, this is a glimpse of a rendering of that same food services area at the glass windows on the south, and there are sets of doors here where students or staff can grab their lunch at a kiosk and take it directly outside and sit in the sun in the quad. The main front door of the campus comes in off the student commons, off the quad. This is a glimpse of what you will see as you walk into that space. Again, a 3-story volume here, lit also with glass from above. But I want to point out one of the last features of the building. This is a real special jewel on the job that was fun to design, and we've left it to last. And really, we're calling it the glass box. It's meant to be a multi-purpose space that can be used by both staff and students in a number of modes. It's entirely clad in glass, all sides. It has a wooden ceiling floating inside. And all the furniture can be cleared out of this space for use by students, say, on a career day. It could also be the spot for a special wine and cheese reception in the evening for staff. Maybe there's a retirement party that staff want to book a really special spot on the campus. It can also function as a meeting room. Bring in some meeting room desks and tables, and it will be fitted up with all the AV-IT technology to foster meeting use, where a screen rolls down from the ceiling. I will point out that this space is intended to be clear glass, but with the flip of a switch, that clear glass can switch to frosted glass. And this is to promote privacy when you're in meeting mode. So here's a glimpse of that glass box lit with LED lighting from within. So it's almost like a glowing box at the end of Main Street. And the beauty of LED technology is you can change the color of the lighting very easily, and you can even program it so we can actually change how this glass box glows from within. Directly beside that glass box is probably the biggest student gathering areas in the building. This is the pocket of space that had previously been the home for the president and the executive team. And this has now been fit up with a variety of seating types for group work and heads down quiet work. Here you can see there are wooden louvers that come down from the ceiling and create little alcoves for students to sit in a more quiet manner. We have tall counter height tables for group work, and we also have little banquette areas for students to eat or study together in a little more quiet environment. Just around the corner from that, we have a huge area of seating, mixed seating types, loose tables that can be reconfigured by students if they want to do group work together. We have a series of banquette seats along the window. These windows look directly out on 106th Street. It's a great spot. Same space as seen from the other side, and you can see these custom built-in banquettes, much like a restaurant, where you can get a little more privacy. Up on level 2 and level 4, we have long student lounges directly beside the glass handrail of the atrium. Again, these are fit up with cushy Starbucks style living room furniture for more casual and relaxed use by students, but also we have group work around bar stool and counter height table work. The hallways, as you noticed on the floor plans, are very long because it is such a big building, 50,000 gross square meters or 500,000 square feet. It's going to be the largest facility on NAIT's campus. As such, we wanted to break up the hallways with a couple of things, one of which is to create an alcove at a typical entrance to the classrooms. Not every classroom will have this, but down every corridor you'll find 1 or 2 of these. This is responding to the way students often are sitting on the floor waiting for their class to start at that crucial crush time between classes. Students are often sitting on the floor either waiting to see their instructor or waiting for their class to begin. So this is a little seating bench. Right behind it, that's an opportunity for graphics to be applied to the wall to celebrate student or staff achievements, a branding opportunity. And this is also the home for little hits of color to break up the flow down these corridors. On that same vein, we're also treating the ceiling of the corridors, right where 2 corridors come together at the intersection. We have these pops of color and these drywall special lit valences. And here you can see the green of an alcove as you walk down the hallway past the row of lockers. Inside the classroom, rendered here for your use are a 32-seat classroom in plan and a 64-seat classroom as a 3D image on the right. In plan, there was a lot of work put together and a lot of background homework done by the NAIT facilities team about the distribution of tables and chairs inside the classroom. This is a default setting where we have a central corridor down the middle of the room, a teaching wall at the front near the door. This teaching wall is fit up with whiteboards and a smart projector at the front of the room. We have a power rail at hip height all the way around the room, and this is for students to connect their laptops to across the surface of their desk to the outside wall. As seen on the right, you can see the whiteboard on the teaching wall and the projection screen that ties into that. We do have the largest lecture theater in the whole building is on the curve. It is enough space for 135 seats, and the furniture here is a little more formal, a little more fixed, can't be moved around as much, but this is a glimpse of what that space will look like. And it is directly beside the level 1 student gathering area, and also adjacent to it is a small seating area affiliated with the coffee shop. So switching gears now, I'll just share some of the highlights of changes we've made to the office areas. In 2013, when we were asked to revisit the original design, we put a lot of effort into engaging staff in new ways that provided them choices throughout their day, and I'll go into that in a little more detail in a moment. We also were seeking to create environments where staff could collaborate with one another, and this may be offering an opportunity for a behavioral change in the current environment. If everyone is working a little more in isolation, maybe they don't have that opportunity to collaborate. We're promoting a combination of team spaces and individual spaces that are necessary for a person's work throughout the day. And of course, any new office environment, you'd expect nothing but the best in terms of technology, so that will be provided at the open workstations and the closed offices. And lastly, the spirit of wellness guided this redesign. There was a strong emphasis on providing access to daylight and views to promote health and well-being among staff throughout their day. Let's take a look at a typical floor plate. This is the Shaw School of Business on level 3, their office space on the north half of the building. As you can see at the bottom of the screen here, this is the glass atrium and the series of stairs and bridges that take you to the 3rd floor. Coming off the 3rd floor are the 4 elevators. This is an elevator lobby. And the semi-public zone is all identified here in the darker blue. Just off these spaces in the turquoise are some of the shared meeting rooms that can be used by staff throughout the building. But you start to move into the Shaw School of Business office space in behind as you move into the space on either side of these elevators. You move past a series of breakout rooms, smaller meeting rooms, through a cafe area, which is really a staff kitchen, and into the open office environment. In the light blue, all the way around the perimeter, are the open offices, open workstations where staff do not have closed walls around them. The closed walls are dedicated down the center of the floor plate, away from the windows on purpose, so that everyone has the same access to daylight and views through the exterior windows. Those solid walls that go from floor to ceiling at the middle of the floor are a combination of closed offices, but also different combinations of seating environments and meeting room environments that all of the staff can share. These again are identified in the turquoise. And with further work with the core team run through facilities and communications, these rooms will be fit up with varying furniture configurations that can meet the needs of staff for anything for heads down work, staff meetings, video conferencing, and large meeting style among staff. Here's what that staff cafe area will look like. Coming in off the elevators, this will be one of the first spaces that staff will move through. Again, everything is in this building is about a variety and choices. So we have the actual kitchen area behind the bar counter here. We have more relaxed seating in the foreground, and then a row of tables and a bench along the back wall. This is meant to be the social hub for staff, where they can come together, laugh about their day, share lunch or coffee breaks together, or just break up their day and come here and work quietly on their own work. Level 5 for the School of Health Sciences has exactly the same principles. Coming off the elevators, you move on either side into the floor plate, and open workstations are provided around the perimeter with the closed offices down the middle. Across the atrium on the 5th floor from Health Sciences is SSBEM. This space has, again, the exact same principles. It just happens to be on the other side of the building. So coming off the elevators, you move across the bridge, past a reception point on the little lobby area, through the cafe and into the open office area. Again, closed offices are deliberately kept to the middle of the floor plate, allowing the open workstations the best views. So let's drill in a little closer as to what does this mean for you as you move into the building. With all of these open workstations, we're trying to create smaller pockets of areas where different programs within the larger schools can co-locate together and even have some self-identity and self-expression. These neighborhoods will occur throughout the floor plate, and within a neighborhood you may live at one workstation that happens to be part of a pod of 6 workstations that happens to be grouped together with your colleagues in the same program. So what does it look like for you in a typical day? Okay, well, on arrival in the morning, you might come up the stairs, or you might take the elevator and arrive at the elevator lobby along the edge of the atrium. From there, hopefully you say hi to whoever is sitting at reception and move through into the kitchen area, drop off your lunch, grab a coffee, and head over to your desk. But all of your workday, as you all know, is not spent entirely at your desk throughout the day. From there, you may need to run prints in the photocopy room. Within this large floor plate, there are 2 dedicated photocopy areas. These are identified in the yellowy green. And this might be where you run materials as you prep for your classes. Later on in your day, you may have a staff meeting where you have to book a larger room, meet with your colleagues. Maybe something contentious has come up and you need to speak to the dean and go and pick their brain for ideas. And then later on in the day, maybe you need some heads down space. Maybe you have a ton of exams that need to be marked and you don't want to be bothered at your desk. So you might book one of these breakout rooms, and these are deliberately dedicated to this group on this floor. They can't be booked by others in the building. They're strictly for informal use by the patrons of this floor. So you may pull your exams in there, work on those for an hour. Following that, you need a break. You go to the cafe, have a coffee with your colleagues, hit the washroom, and then you may be approached by one of your students. Reception is deliberately near the elevator lobby. A student may come up, have you paged, and you can go meet with that student in one of these breakout rooms. There will be technology mounted on the wall where you and the student maybe need to pull up their exam or pull up some of the research materials directly through the use of the technology, and provide any assistance they may need. And lastly, at the end of the day, you will leave either via the elevators or the stairs. So hopefully that helps give you a glimpse of what your day could look like on this office floor. What do the office environments look like? Well, here are a set of images of how the design is currently unfolding, and it is unfolding as we speak. This is a conversation. We have a series of 6 workstations bundled together where 2 colleagues sit side by side, potentially within the same program. And then we have a series of workstation partition heights where we're trying to break up the office environment and prevent it from looking like the standard 1970s cube farm. So in this example, we have a low height between 2 colleagues, a slightly higher height for the screen between two sides of the same pod of 6. And at the end of the pod of 6, we have this taller or third height glass screen. And this is just to provide visual and acoustic privacy from the patrons as they walk back and forth down the hallway along the desks. You can see behind those glass screens are the closed offices and the breakout rooms that run all the way down the corridor. So what we are exploring and looking for feedback from you here at NAIT is the opportunity to create some branding and self-expression through graphics within your particular neighborhood. In this case, playing with the School of Business, we're proposing potentially bar charts and graphs. This could be applied to the screen, a film that's applied to the glass to allow more visual privacy, yet still allowing all the daylight to flow through to the offices in behind. But this is merely a suggestion, and we'd look for your feedback. We're also exploring the use of color within the workstations to break up the office environment, and even color within the glass panels. Zeroing in on one of the workstations a little closer, you can see again the 3 heights of panels, the low height on one side, a slightly higher height on the other side, and then at the end of the pod of 6 workstations, a 3rd height. So again, we're playing with suggestions for graphics applied to the film on the glass, playing with color on the screens, and playing with color on the glass. So with that, I will call it a wrap, and I thank you for your time and look forward to any questions you may have. Thank you.